Okay, I might just hurt my view duration for this video, but I want to make this video and I want to give you a major spoiler warning in case you happen to be watching any of these shows. Before we can talk about the saddest deaths in fiction, I want to tell you what shows and movies that I will be spoiling. We're going to be talking about The Avengers. We're going to be talking about Planet of the Apes, Game of Thrones, Attack on Titan, The Boys, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, How to Train Your Dragon, Sonic X, Code Geass, Harry Potter, Demon Slayer. We're going to be talking about, anything related to Marvels is fair game right now. We're going to be talking about anything from Star Wars. We're going to be talking about multiple Spider-Man movies. We're going to be talking about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Clone Wars, that falls under Star Wars. We're going to be talking about Cyberpunk Edge Runners, Vikings, a lot of Marvel that I'm still looking at over here. Attack on Titan, I already said. We're going to be talking about Death Note, and we're going to be talking about Stranger Things, okay? Apologies if there is one I missed, but I don't want to be that guy because I would be very upset if I also ran into a video talking about the saddest deaths in fiction, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a show that I'm currently watching. So hopefully that helped you out. We're already a minute into the video, guys. We're going to be talking about the saddest deaths in fiction. I am excited, guys. We have a list of a bunch of characters over here. Let's get straight into it. I'd love to know what you guys think down below, starting off with Black Widow. Guys, this one hurt. This one hurt. Like, I don't know about you guys, but when Avengers Endgame was coming out and everybody was kind of like focused on Tony Stark dying, I thought Black Widow's death was very underrated. Just the way that her and Clint were constantly fighting for each other. You know, the realization that came into both of them when they figured out that one of them had to die. They were fighting with each other, and the way that she was trying to just like, you know, she was trying to fall to her death while Clint was just holding her and he was crying. Like, dude, the actor for Hawkeye really sold that too. And the way she was just looking at him too, saying like, it's okay, let me go, dude. And the way that she just fell, the camera zoomed into her body afterwards. Oh my God, this was a very sad death. Dude, we're going to like put so many in S tier because I think this is already an S tier that we're starting out with. And of course, we are ranking them from S all the way to D tier, ranking them by how sad their death was. Black Widow, man, going straight into the S tier. But I will say, I don't think that like the movie let us sit on it more because it was like, oh, Black Widow died. Oh my God, where's Natasha? Hulk threw a bench and then we just continued on with the movie. I think that they could have sat on this death a little bit more, to be honest with you. Now, oh my God, dude, there's going to be so many things into the S tier, dude. Caesar's family from Planet of the Apes. Dude, this is one of the most underrated deaths ever, with them getting ambushed. All of a sudden, Caesar noticing some army men, like in the, what was it? Like, I don't know what you would call their home, like, you know, the kind of cave area that they were in. And then Caesar just ended up walking in with his family, shot dead. And then you have that, whatever, I don't remember what ranking he was, like the colonel or something like that, just looking at him, taking off. And Caesar barely only has one of his sons living right there. Dude, this was a very underrated death scene. Dare I say, it's better than Black Widow. This is going into the S tier for sure. For sure, dude. I hope this whole thing isn't just S tier. No, there's no way it's all S tier, okay? Let's continue on to Ygritte from Game of Thrones, dude. My heart sank for Jon Snow when we were watching this, dude, because they built up that love story. And this is why Game of Thrones is so great, right? Because nobody's ever safe. I couldn't believe it, man. When they're in that battle and you know, like, the risk is there at the same time. But I love the fact that, like, she locked eyes with Jon Snow. You can still tell that there's a ton of passion right there. And the worst part about it was that she's just looking at Jon, gets shot with the arrow, dude. And then it's that kid that ends up looking at Jon. It's just like, yeah, I got you, Jon. I got you, Jon. Meanwhile, like, he just shattered Jon's entire world because, if I'm not mistaken, this is like the first woman that he's ever loved, and she was great for him too, right? And then Jon, like, in the middle of the battlefield, of course, had to watch her die, and she's still saying, like, you know nothing, Jon Snow. This was a very good death. This was very tough to watch. You know what? I don't think that it is as big of, not as big of a deal, but, like, I don't think this hit nearly as hard as both Caesar's family and Black Widow, so I'm actually going to put Ygritte over into the A tier. Eren Yeager, Attack on Titan, guys. This, you know what the thing is? Eren died in such a major conclusion to one of the great, or I mean, I think objectively, Attack on Titan is the greatest show of all time. The way that Eren went out, dude, though, the way that he was inside the mouth, the way that they built that up, right? He had to do everything. This was the only way that he could set his people free, so he didn't want to be doing this, and he was going tit for tat with Armin. They were both coming into the Colossal Titans, and then of all people, Mikasa had to be the one that ended up killing him. And then, you know what it gets even worse if you were to rewatch this too, because you have the whole thing, and Attack on Titan is so good with its detail. you have that entire thing where it's like, oh, well, Eren finally opened his eyes. And then when you look at Mikasa's reflection from Eren's eyes, you can see that there's no like battle scars on her face. There's no dirt because he looks at her and he just sees pure beauty. And the ones that never ended up trying to get, or never was able to get together, she's the one that cuts his head off. And then she has to kiss his dismembered head. And then you have that whole thing where it's like, oh, well, the brain stays active for however long it was. And I don't even know if there's like how much truth there is to it. But according to the story, Eren, with his head cut off, did feel the kiss of Mikasa. It was crazy. It was such a major conclusion. I could not believe that by the end of the show, because I thought going into this, I thought that Eren was going to stop the rumbling last second. I'm like, oh my God, he's continuing with all of this. Mikasa was the one who had to cut his head off. And then it just made it even worse where she's holding his head. And the way that, dude, Armin's voice actor is nuts. The way that he just screamed. Eren dying was one of the worst things I have ever seen in the entirety of fiction, guys. Eren Yeager is absolutely going into the S tier. Now let's talk about Becca from The Boys, guys. I actually think this is a really, really underrated death. Of course, you have like the significance of years or however long it was where Billy was just searching for her. They finally reunite. Everything's finally great. Just for her to be killed by her own son that was conceived by Homelander. And then she had to like spend her dying moments telling Butcher to watch over the boy and saying like it's not his fault, he can't control it. This was a very, very underrated, sad death. I think it hit pretty hard, man. But in comparison to everything else, I don't think that it's like S or A tier. I'm going to put Becca over into the B tier. Howard, though. Howard from Better Call Saul, guys. Oh my God. This was one of the most unexpected deaths that we've ever seen. You have Howard, who Jimmy and Kim were just torturing. They were just torturing. And it was, at this point in the show, like, it wasn't, oh, you know, Howard's just a bad guy. Howard's just a D-bag. We figured out a long time ago that it was just Chuck pulling the strings. And Howard was just a normal, good guy. And he was even putting on a facade. He was struggling. Like, he was having issues with his wife. He was sleeping on the couch, that type of stuff. Like, Howard was already barely keeping it together. And then they just go and continue to ruin his life. So when he goes to confront them finally, he walks in and you already feel bad for the guy because he's completely broken. He's drinking himself to sleep or whatever, right? And he's like, why? Why go through all of this? Why would you destroy my life like this? Just for Lalo to stroll on in. And dude, when Lalo came in, I was like, oh my God, Lalo's here. What the hell's going to happen? Because now that Lalo's here, like, killing Howard is absolutely on the table. But the way that he just went out, where you knew the significance of Lalo being there and you knew the potential of Lalo. And then Howard's just like, who's this guy? Well, let me give you some advice. Find better lawyers. And then you slowly see him put the silencer on. And all of a sudden Howard's like, might be in the middle of something here. Just boom. It was so quick. Howard went out just like that. And then they covered up his death to make him seem like he just killed himself in the water. I think like he threw his body into the water or something like that. Absolutely insane. Howard was a very, very hard-hitting death. This is absolutely an S tier. Dare I say Howard's death was crazier than Eren's? Now, before I say this, like, Attack on Titan, objectively, in my opinion, I can't say objectively and in my opinion, guys. Attack on Titan story structure, it is objectively the greatest story of all time, but we're talking about the saddest deaths. And I think, honestly, Howard beats out Eren. S tier for Howard Hamlin. So far, the worst death that we've talked about. Let's talk about Cosmo from Sonic X, guys. This one, so when we're going to make these videos, I have AI, and I took out like every show, every movie that I watched, especially things that I ended up talking about on the channel. I plugged it into AI, and I'm like, give me a list of deaths that happened in all of these shows. And I'm like, oh yeah, Cosmo died. But here's the thing. You know what's funny is, if we're talking about, and I'm going to separate it here, if we're talking about the English dub, which I watched, I didn't know how like much better Cosmo's death was done in Japanese, and I didn't know how horrible 4Kids TV screwed all of that up. And I'm going to talk about, because the Japanese version is so powerful, I'm actually going to talk about that one. The way that Cosmo obviously needed to sacrifice herself to save the entire universe, right? Everybody was going to die. The plants were going to take over. The Metarex were going to take over. They were going to delete all life except plant life, but she can sacrifice herself to save the entire universe. But the only person that can kill her and knows how to use the cannon is Tails, her lover. Guys, the way that the Japanese version did this was so much better in English because it just happened where Tails is like, no, Cosmo, I don't want to do this, right? But, dude, the silence that it let you sit on as Tails realizes that he has to shoot the one true love that he has, and he finally found love in his life. They spent the entire season together, loving each other, and Tails sitting in that silence with just the alarm going off. The way that it lets you sit with that is so powerful. It is so well done, guys, and you can feel Tails not being able to do it. He's not going to sacrifice Cosmo for the world, and I get that, man. I wouldn't sacrifice my wife for the world. I'm sorry. The world can go. I'm not killing my wife. But the way that they just let you sit on it with nothing, no music, but the sound of the alarm going off and Tails barely keeping it together with his hand on the lever, ready to fire that cannon, but he can't do it as Eggman comes in and then has to convince him to kill his own lover. Dude, this is a very, very, very underrated death just for him to do it. And the way too, he finally shoots her, he finally kills her, and then, which was also not part of the English part, he starts blaming Sonic for it. He starts like, he can't control himself, he's crying and he's hitting Sonic. He's like, why didn't you save her? Why didn't you save her? Why didn't you do something? Because Sonic couldn't do anything, and all Sonic had was just this little seed from her. Very, very, very underrated death. And I know I probably just yapped about that more than anything else that I've yapped about. Very powerful. Cosmo is going into the A tier. I know I just yapped about it like it's at the top of S tier, guys, but this is going to go right behind Ygritte. At the same time, it is Sonic X at the end of the day, and I don't like look at Sonic X as seriously as I looked at a bunch of these other shows. Cosmo, though, going into the A tier. Now for Stoic. How to Train Your Dragon. In my opinion, How to Train Your Dragon, I've talked about this before, How to Train Your Dragon is the greatest trilogy of all time, guys. The worst part about this is that Stoic just reunited with his long-lost wife, and I don't even remember how long it was, but of course, like, it's been years. Actually, kind of like a little bit of a Becca situation, right? And Toothless, of all people, are being controlled. And the way that Stoic goes out, right after he reunites with his wife, right after he can finally live his life again, he got his wife back, he has his family back, his son and him have never been bonding more, he's so proud of his son, he's so loving with his wife, just for Toothless to be controlled, and for Toothless, of all people, to be the one to kill Stoic while he's protecting Hiccup. Oh my god, did this death hit hard. Oh my god, I couldn't believe what I just watched when I was watching How to Train Your Dragon. I could not believe that Toothless was the one of all people to kill Stoic. This is an S tier too. How the hell am I supposed to rank these? Because this is one of the craziest deaths that I've ever seen. How to Train Your Dragon gets so deep sometimes, dude. Okay, it's in the Aaron and Howard territory for Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon. I think, oh man, that's tough. I'm actually going to put it ahead of Aaron. Yeah, I'm going to put it ahead of Aaron, right behind Howard, because, I don't know, the way that you just felt gut-wrenched for Howard hit differently, man. I don't know if you guys are going to agree with me on this, and I would love to know what you guys think down below, but let's talk about fives from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. This one was crazy. You have this dude who just finally found out the truth about Order 66. The entirety of I guess you could say the entirety of the Republic was just like making him feel like he was just crazy and he couldn't tell anybody. He was dying with this information alone. And on top of that, like, they ended up executing him, watching him die in Rex's arms, just exhausted, just completely broken. Like, there's nothing that he could have said to convince people otherwise. And I wish that I could go a little bit deeper in that for you, but just watching him, like, make the realization he's the only one that knows and everybody thinks he's crazy, but then they're going to kill him. And he was like, dude, this was also a very, very hard-hitting death. Fives from Clone Wars is very strong. I'm actually going to put him ahead of Ygritte right here, okay? Now, let's talk about some Code Geass. We have quite a few people over here from Code Geass. This was where I actually started paying like hardcore attention to Code Geass, because something that I've gone on record saying, and I know it's going to be a hot take, I have said that Code Geass is a very overrated show, but dude, does Code Geass have some highs. The way that Princess Euphemia, you have such a pure character in this show, right? Such a lovable character, such a good character. She accidentally received a Geass command, and she started massacring people. The significance of that in general was already like, I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And then Lelouch has to kill her to stop it. Dude, the things that Lelouch had to go through in that entire show. And I know, like, I'm saying Lelouch went through something, but, like, what about what poor Euphemia was going through, right? Of course. But, dude, this was, like, one of the best moments in the entirety of Code Geass. And it was just, like, who was doing it as well. Again, you had one of the most pure characters in the entire show having to do that and then having to suffer for it. None of it was her fault. None of it. This is absolutely an S tier. Man, dude, how are we, like, this whole S tier is so significant, dude. And Princess Euphemia is absolutely going there as well. I'm actually going to put her at the bottom of S tier so far. Yeah, I can't really justify it. Like, it's so close with all of those S tiers, but that's where we're going to leave it for now, okay? The Red Wedding. Guys, one of the most well done scenes in the entirety of Fiction. The way that Robb and Caitlin Stark ended up going out. And on top of that, you know what the worst one was? When they started it off, Robb had to watch his pregnant significant other get stabbed. That was so hard to watch. This entire thing was so hard to watch after the highest of the highs, right? And you know what's crazy? I should have expected it. I guess we all should have expected it, right? Especially with, like, what Robb was doing. And it's like, okay, you know what? This is all going a little too well, especially for Game of Thrones and the precedent that they set. You just knew Robb's downfall was coming, but nobody saw it coming. Isn't that insane? The way that everybody just ended up getting massacred. Caitlin had to watch all of it. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, she had to watch everybody. She was last to go up, right? Yeah. All of it was absolutely insane, dude. Robb watching his significant other, his pregnant, and I don't know if they were married at the time, but you get my point. Like, this was one of the craziest scenes in the entirety of Fiction, guys. This one is going above Howard. This is going into the S tier. That was one of the hardest scenes I have ever had to watch in my entire life, guys. Now let's talk about Dobby, guys. You know what? I've never been too big of a Harry Potter guy, to be honest with you, but this death did hit kind of hard. He died protecting his friends, and it was pretty dragged out, like dragged out in a good way, though. You watched him die in Harry's arms. Harry buried him in a place, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was a place without magic, which was kind of like pretty cool. But regardless, like, to be honest with you, I don't have too much to say about this one. Harry Potter's never been one that, like, I've been kind of too high on. I think this is going to be our first C tier over here. It was definitely sad. It's definitely one of the best deaths in Fiction. One of the saddest deaths in Fiction, but that's where I'm going to leave Dobby, okay? Let's talk about Mai from Akami Got Kill. Another one that, like, it was okay. Akami Got Kill had some very sad deaths here, but the problem was you didn't grow to love these characters over a long period of a show. You know, like, we had 6 seasons with Howard, for example. We spent so much time with Robb Stark. With Mai, it kind of, like, I don't want to say it felt rushed. It's just the series was so short, so I didn't really have time to buy the whole thing because she died, like, basically confessing her love for Tatsumi, and it was well done. You really felt for it, but at the same time, it was just okay, you know? I'm actually going to put this one to the C tier as well. I'm going to put it right behind Dobby. Let's talk about Gale Bedecker. Poor Gale, man. But at the same time, like, who Gale is and the people that he's getting involved with, it's difficult to, like, feel super, super bad for him, but he did seem like a fairly normal, innocent guy just looking for some work, right? And he just wanted to use his chemistry skill set, his chemistry knowledge to cook in a lab. You could see how passionate he was. You could see, like, how, like, happy he was just with his nerdy stuff, making tea, and he was just spending some time on his own just for a knock on the door. Jesse appears with a gun, and that's it. That's how Gale goes. And he's like, please don't do this. I have money. You don't have to do this. And with Jesse crying, the episode ending with him pulling the trigger, Gale was very tragic. Gale just went. But it's difficult for me to feel bad for him. Like, compare it to another character from Breaking Bad, for example, Howard. Howard didn't deserve any of that. Gale was signing up for, like, the potential for something like this to happen. So the weight of it is kind of, like, torn away. You know what's crazy is I felt worse for Jesse than I did Gale. And I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I don't know if anybody would agree with me, but the fact that Jesse was forced to save his own life to kill Gale, I don't like that. I felt more bad for Jesse. But of course, we did feel bad for Gale. I'm going to put Gale into the B tier. I'm going to put him bottom of B tier so far. Akaza, Demon Slayer. Oh my god. You know, when we talked about Demon Slayer on the channel, or even, like, when I talk about Demon Slayers in streams, depending if you're coming over from the Fortnite channel, something that I oftentimes say is, like, I don't normally feel bad. You know how every single time in Demon Slayer when they kill a demon, they throw this big pity party for the demon, and I'm like, nah, I don't care. I kind of feel like, you know, I'm sorry, her name always escapes me because we spent so little time with her. The insect breathing Hashira. You know, I've always kind of been more on her side where, you know, when she took on that demon, the first upper rank demon, and it was the guy with the webs, and then it was his sister that she killed. You know what I'm talking about? You know what character I'm talking about? Those two in that death, where she doesn't feel bad for this demon, while Tanjiro feels bad for all the demons. He's like, it's still a life. It's still a life. You know, I understand where Tanjiro's coming from, but the way that the insect Hashira was looking at this and goes, look at all of those people over there that you've made suffer. I'm going to make sure you feel that exact pain. That's how I normally feel about these demons, and I get that Muzan controlled them. I get that they're fearful, but I don't care. Look at the atrocities that they committed, man. But Akaza, I don't know. I think the significance of the Demon Slayer movie, it kind of hit different. And I'm a little bit of a sucker for like the, you know, my significant other's dead. I wasn't able to protect her. The way that Akaza, he didn't understand her. He didn't know like that Muzan kind of took control of him. Where he's like, I need to get stronger, but he doesn't know why he needs to get stronger. He needs to get stronger because he needs to protect his significant other. He needs to protect, I don't think they were married, but like he needs to protect the love of his life, but he forgot about her and he still continues to need to get stronger. And then he remembers her. And the way that she kind of appears and he's slowly regaining her memories, and the way that the Demon Slayer movie was doing it with the music and Akaza coming back, and after everything that they just went through to decapitate this dude, he's still regenerating. And then it's the way that when he regains his memories, guys, it's the way that he looks at Tanjiro in that transition and gives him a smile. And Tanjiro's looking at him like, huh? And then he starts killing himself because he remembers he doesn't want to be a demon anymore. He breaks free from Muzan, and Muzan tries to still regain control over him. And the way that Muzan's screaming like, Akaza! And the way that he looks up, and the scenery, and this picture that I have right here for you, like the scenery of it. You know what I'm talking about with Akaza all of a sudden down, and then his head is in her hands, and he just looks up, and she's right there, dude. Man, it's a tearjerker. I got close with that one, dude. I got close, and the way that he finally breaks down and hugs her, and she's saying, it's okay, you can go now, and that is the way that Akaza goes. All of it was so well done. This is the only demon that I felt bad for, and Akaza's going into the S tier, dude. I am going to put Akaza. He's top 3. Like, he's with the Starks, he's with Howard, he's with Stoic. I'm going to put Akaza, you know what? Number 2. I don't quite think that he beats the Red Wedding. Dude, this one was just gut-wrenching to a next level. I don't know if anything's going to beat this so far. But yeah, that one was absolutely insane, dude. Let's talk about Jane from Breaking Bad. You know, I'm kind of on the same vibe as I was with Gale there. Jane was just being a piece of crap. Jane was just using Jesse, and you know that she wasn't good for him. Obviously, she wasn't good for him. She was going to take all of his money. She only liked him when she found out that she had money. And I understand, like, to an extent, that is how, you know, relationships work. You have to demonstrate your competence to an extent. You know what I'm talking about. But my point being, Jane, oh, we were so casual, but now let's run away together because you have so much money coming. She was blackmailing Walter, understandably so. I'm not defending Walter in that sense, but she got Jesse hooked up to heroin. She was going to just selfishly, like, get Jesse away from his entire life. You know, I kind of, you know what's sad? I understand where Walt was coming from, but it still was very difficult to watch the way that he just goes in there and the way that Walt stares at her, the way that she's just overdosing and choking to death. And you can tell that this is like, it sucks because it's a meme to say this now at this point where it's like, this is the moment where Walter White officially became Heisenberg, but like, it actually applies to that. You know what I mean? Like, the way that Walt was just staring at her and the way that Walt, like, could barely contain the way that he was feeling and the way, like, he was like, oh my God, am I actually letting this poor girl die right now? Because at the same time, you have to understand that she was off the heroin and she was fixing her life and Jesse got her hooked up back on that, you know? That's the problem with the entire thing. So this was a very, very, very tough death to watch. I don't think it's quite S tier, but I'm going to put this at the top of A tier. Jane was a very, very sad death. Let's talk about Lagertha, guys. My favorite show of all time, Vikings. The way that she went out was horrible, dude. And the thing was, you had throughout the entire show, the seer prophesizing that she's going to be killed by a son of Ragnar. What did we all think that means? Oh, it's going to be Ivor, right? Ivor, the one who can never forgive Lagertha for killing his mother. That's going to be the one that takes her out. But the way that she's taken out is that when she's going back home, she's trying to find Bjorn. She's all alone. She is suffering already from the battle that she had. She went overseas for God knows how long. She finally got there. It's pouring rain. She's alone. She's in pain. She's barely making her way over to Bjorn. And then all that happens is that she starts getting stabbed by Hitzverk, who's drunk and who's hallucinating. That was beyond shocking. You know what's sad is that you saw it coming because Hitzverk was also going in the rain. Hitzverk was scared because he's having the hallucinations that Ivor's coming to kill him. I believe it was a snake that he saw, but like you get my point. Like Hitzverk was like, oh my God, it's here, it's here, it's here. And then you're slowly putting two and two together where it's like, oh my God, Lagertha's in pain. Lagertha's alone right there. Hitzverk's seeing something. He's hallucinating. He's trying to kill whatever he's hallucinating right now. Oh my God, Lagertha's supposed to be killed by a son of Ragnar's. And then it just happened. And the way that she goes out all alone without being able to see her son, such an underrated death in fiction. This one, I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe it. And then even if you want to drag it out, the way that Bjorn finds out, like my family's sleeping. So I'm recording this video very early in the morning. I like the way that goes, you murder my mother. You know, like if you want to extend it to that, oh, dude, Vikings is my favorite show. And of course, like this is all my opinion, but I think the way that Lagertha went out, it's taking over. Top of S tier. It broke my heart the way that she went out, guys. But let's talk about Vanessa from Deadpool. You know, this one actually was like very, very underrated for how significant it was because you have the Deadpool movies that are really not meant to be taken seriously. And they have such a powerful moment where they're just so happy together. Vanessa and Deadpool or Wade, they're living life. They're happy together. All of a sudden there's a raid. She's dead. It was very quick. And it's like, oh my God, Vanessa died. And then the way that Wade was chasing the killer afterwards and didn't make him feel better. Like it was so shocking. And they did such a good job displaying how much they actually ended up loving each other. It was actually a very, very good death, but I don't think it hits nearly as hard as all these other characters in the show. For that reason, I'm going to put this one to the C tier. I'm actually going to put it right in the middle of mine and Dobby right there. Let's talk about Light Yagami. This one's a little bit strange because you have one side of the public who feels really, really bad for Light, and then the other side of the public who goes, you know what, Light is just a evil, murdering monster. Good, he goes. I understand both camps, and I understand that Light lost himself, and I understood that by the time the show ended, Light was not like the same guy. At least like I understood the vision from the beginning of the show, right? He wants to be God of the New World. As a man of faith myself, I look at that and I'm like, okay, how arrogant of you. But it is just a story, it is fiction. Let's assume that we don't know what happens after death and things like that. In this particular story, I get it and I see the vision. I'm like, you know what? You're fixing the world. Solid, Light. Good job, right? But as it continues on and he gets more evil, and the more that you look into it, like I still haven't watched a Death Note movie, but you know what really, and I wish they left this in the show, but you know what I really wish that they, sorry, did I just say that? You know what I really wish that they left in the show? Where was that point where Light, and it was in the Death Note movie or whatever it was, where he's staring at Elle's grave going, what do you think of that, Elle? And then he like, I win. And then like has that creepy, creepy, creepy laugh. And the way that right before Light went out, he couldn't help but just be arrogant about it too. And he's looking at Nier, he's like, well, Nier, looks like I win. And just even while the clock was ticking, you could hear just the noises of the warehouse. And he's like, they're all gonna die. They're all gonna die. Like, he became such a sinister man, such an evil man. So I feel less bad for him. But at the same time, I don't know what it was. You just did feel bad for him. As he's running away with all of those gunshot wounds, as his older self is walking past him while he's realizing like like the life he could have had as a student, as an honest policeman, the normal light he walks by, he's just suffering in the way that he dies in the middle of a staircase, representing that he's not going to heaven nor hell, just like Ryuk said. And Ryuk of all people was the one that wrote his name in the book. It was very well done. It was very sad, but because of who Light was and who Light became, I don't quite think it's like, I don't quite think it's S tier territory. Like my heart didn't sink, or my heart didn't sink into my stomach the way that it did for a lot of these other characters, again, because of who Light ended up becoming. I will say, though, I loved the way that they did it in the manga. I recently learned about that, too, where he's, like, begging Ryuk to kill them all. And he's looking pathetic, and Ryuk's like, nope, writes his name. I wish that they would have done that, too. Both versions are very well done. Light's death was sad, but I don't think it's as sad as some of these that we're talking about. I'm actually going to put Light at the bottom of A tier. Let's talk about, and oh my god, I'm so sorry. Rocket's friends, I don't recall their name, from Guardians 3. Guardians 3 is one of the most gut-wrenching movies that I have seen in a long time. But here's the thing. I'm also, and I've expressed this on the channel before. Actually, we just did a review for Hoppers, and I was like, dude, this movie pissed me off right away because some kids were like flipping out a turtle on its back, you know? I am such a sucker for animals. I have such a big heart for animals, and to give them voices and see their friendship and see the tragedy of Rocket's character and the way that they all went out just before escaping, just before seeing the sky, they had that hope that they were all going to escape just to be gunned down. Oh, guys, again, I have such a big heart for animals. I feel so bad. I feel so bad for them. Like, honestly, Caesar, I feel so bad for him. Like, I don't know what it is. Again, I have a heart for animals. I think they're so much more innocent than humans, and knowing what happened to all of them, just barely escaping, just for them to get gunned down by someone so evil. This was an incredible death scene. Man, this S tier is very tough, dude, but this is going high up into the S tier, man. You know what? I'm going to put this one, I'm putting it behind Lagertha. Again, it's my heart for animals that's getting in the way. I hated this one. Let's talk about Rengoku, guys. What a badass way to go out. You know what really sold it was Tanjiro. The way that Tanjiro was crying, the way that Tanjiro and Zenitsu, and I don't recall if Inosuke was crying, to be honest with you, but regardless, you get my point. After such a big battle with Akaza, and you know what I love about Demon Slayer 2 is they make you go like, oh my god, Akaza needs to go, screw Akaza, he's the worst person of all time, and then just for you to feel like arguably even worse about Akaza dying. I love Demon Slayer so much, dude, but Rengoku, after they spent half the movie battling it out with the Upper Moon 3, I believe Akaza is, yeah, spending the battle, like, and, you know, having that, like, anime moment where he's like, I will see my duty through till the end, and he's, like, going in the, my words can't possibly do the battle justice for how significant and how, like, tough it was to watch, just for Akaza to beat him in the end. After all of that, after setting up that moment, we're like, okay, we're coming back, this is where the Hashira ends up winning, just for him to die like that. And what really sold it was he was still alive as Akaza was running away, and Tanjiro was in rage mode, dude. And I spoke about this, but it's a conversation for another time. Actually, if you're interested, we have a review for the Infinity Castle movie. Something that I wish happened was, like, I don't like that Tanjiro was all calm, because I wanted to see him get that revenge because of the way that he was chasing Akaza at the end. Tears flowing out of his eyes, and he's like, you coward, get back here. We fight you guys at the nighttime. You know what I'm talking about? Like, and the way that Rengoku's just looking at him is like, come here, let me speak one last time. And the way that they're bawling their eyes out, the way that he sees his mother. Rengoku was a very, very, very well done death. And I am putting it into the S tier. Of course, I'm putting it into the S tier. I'm going to actually put Rengoku. I'm going to put it. It's Eren Yeager territory. Was I more sad about his death than Eren's? No. So I'm going to put him right behind Eren Yeager. Leave him right there. Let's continue on over to Mace Windu, guys. Unfortunately, man, I hate to say this, but I've never been a major Star Wars fan. Like, I'm a big Clone Wars guy, and there's definitely Star Wars projects that I've loved. But Mace Windu didn't really hit that hard for me. Of course, it was tragic. I loved the prequel movies. They were great. But I've never been like this major Star Wars guy. I didn't feel it as much as other Star Wars fans, I don't think, where it's like the way that we knew Anakin was going over to the dark side, the way that he was just about to defeat the Emperor, right? And just for Anakin to be the one to cut his arms off, kick him out. Like, it was a very well done death scene. Again, I don't feel it nearly as much as I would for even other characters within the Star Wars universe. Like, I think Fives is much more well done, you know what I mean? I'm actually going to put Mace Windu into the bottom of B tier over here. Let's talk about Hank Schrader, though. This one was tough. You know why? Because and this might be stupid on me because when I rewatched Breaking Bad with my wife, she saw this coming completely. Just when you think that Hank won, I'm like, okay, this is kind of how Breaking Bad's gonna end. There's only like 3 episodes left. Maybe it's gonna be about a court case. I thought that's where it was going. As dumb and naive as I probably was, I don't know why. I just wasn't thinking like, you know what? Walt made that call. They're gonna come protect him anyways. I didn't think about that. I thought that like he just canceled them, and it fooled me. So Jack and his team showed up out of nowhere just when Hank is finally having his win. And in hindsight, I should have noticed it as well because he had that goodbye phone call with Marie where he's like, "I love you, babe. I love you so much," and he hangs up. He's arresting Walt. Just for them to come out, they shoot Gomez. Hank is barely alive. He's on the ground, and Jack is basically making Hank beg for his life, and he's refusing to beg. And then the way that like Hank is one of the few people that Walt actually cared about now, and Walt, like, as much as he wanted to protect everybody, and Walt screaming in the car like, Jack, no, Jack, no, you know what I'm talking about? It was, again, very well done. And just Hank refusing to beg for his life, although like as if Jack would have let him live, right? Yeah, you're the stupidest guy, or you're the smartest guy I've ever known, but you're too stupid. It's too stupid to see that he made up his mind 10 minutes ago. I butchered that entire sentence for some reason. I'm sorry, guys. Again, I have the day off work today and I'm recording all of these videos for the day at 4 in the morning, so I'm a little tired. I think I'm doing a good job not looking tired though. But Hanks was very well done, just for him to get put down that way, the way Walt reacted to it as well. Again, very, very well done. He's definitely an A tier, not an S tier. How does he stack up with everybody over into the A tier? I'm actually going to put Hank right behind Ygritte. I think that's a pretty good spot for him. Gwen. Gwen from Spider-Man 2. One of the... You know? I didn't really have her in mind as I was thinking about this. I was thinking like, you know what, the Red Wedding might be at the top. I will tell you right now, I think this might be the greatest and saddest death in the entirety of fiction. With the way that Peter knew that it was so dangerous for her, with the promise that he made to her father, and she's still like, no, nobody does this for me. I'm choosing this on my own. And just when you think that Spider-Man's not going to go there because you have Harry. Just of course, like basically not exactly like torturing her, but like threatening her life and all of that, right? Like putting her in such a dangerous situation just for the entire thing to collapse after all of that, right? And the way that they sat and the way that she was falling down, it made it seem like that Spider-Man was going to save her. Dude, the way that she fell and with him shooting the web and the web turned into a hand and it looked like he was just about to save her, just for it to be so quick, so brutal. After that, as she's falling, once we stop getting into the slow motion, snap, head bounce off the ground, back break. Like, I don't know exactly like what ended up breaking. I'm pretty sure she smacked her head and back off the ground. And it was just barely not enough. Just barely. If he would have shot that out like maybe 5 seconds sooner, then he would have been able to save her. And Peter let her come to. The significance of that, the promise to his father with the love that they had. Dude, this is the best death in the entirety of fiction. This is the saddest death, excuse me. The saddest death in the entirety of fiction is Emma Stone, and the actor too. Oh my God. And the way Andrew Garfield was selling it. One of the best actors of all time. Dude, this one. And guys, I'm not somebody who cries. Like, and I'm stupidly like still that guy where I was like, dude, I'm a guy. I'm not crying at some movie. So like I'm holding it back and like there are tears wanted to pour out of my eyeballs, man. And I was like, I remember very clearly watching it like this, like my breathing even like I'm trying to hold it in. And I was watching this with my boys too. Oh, not happening, dude. Not happening. This was the closest I've ever gotten to crying in a movie. I think so well done. The best death in the entirety of fiction, guys. Okay. Let's talk about Chelsea from Akame Got Killed. Sorry, I had to think about her name for a moment. Guys, Chelsea, excuse me if you could hear my notification right there. Chelsea was a much more sad death than mine because, again, we had that kind of like, wasn't quite like a love story that she had. But she was a character that you like quickly you quickly grew to love. And it's just more so the way that she ended up going out. Like everything seemed to be okay. And I know Akame Got Killed like already set the precedent that people are like going to end up dying in the show. But the way that they just, and I don't have too much to say about this one, the way that they just come across her head on a stick. I was watching that, I was like, Oh my god. This was, in my opinion, the best well done death in a Kamiga kill. I think this one's like borderline B and A tier. It's just because, again, the problem with the Kamiga kill is we didn't get to sit with these characters, so I didn't really like feel that same amount of weight. I'm going to put this one into the B tier. I'm actually going to put it at the bottom of B tier. Again, B tier is still incredibly sad. We're ranking right now the saddest deaths in the entirety of Fiction, guys. Let's talk about Rex from Invincible, okay? You know, this one didn't hit for me at all. I didn't like Rex as a character. I actually kind of found him annoying. I have zero emotional attachment to Rex. Zero. And I know that's an unpopular opinion. I know that's a hot take. Just didn't do anything for me. And I'm somebody who loves Invincible. Never liked him. Found the character kind of annoying. I straight up didn't feel bad for him. D tier. I'm sorry. Like, it's sad that he died, of course, but I that might be the only D tier that we go through, dude. Maybe. I just didn't care for Rex, man. But let's talk about Caesar now, instead of just Caesar and his family. Caesar dying at the end of War of Planet for the Apes. Now, it was a sad death, but I think it got, like, it's not as sad as a lot of others, is because Caesar completed his mission. He got his entire family and his entire tribe out of the concentration camps. He got them to wherever the oasis was. Like, they ended up, like, finding a new place to live. Caesar died, I don't want to say happily, but happy in the sense that his mission was complete. So while it was like, oh my god, it's so sad we're saying bye to Caesar, such a beloved character, right? He didn't get to live his happy life with his family. At least he accomplished his mission. He went out, not necessarily in his own terms, but you guys kind of get what I'm talking about. So Caesar, it was a very sad death, but we're ranking them based on how sad they were. And a lot of these other characters died like at the top over here. Nothing good came from their deaths. At least something good came when Caesar died. You know what I'm talking about? For that reason, it's not quite as sad as a lot of other deaths. It was more satisfying than anything. I'm going to put Caesar at the bottom of B tier. Ned Stark. This is where everybody probably ended up getting hooked up on Game of Thrones, because Ned was kind of like being built up as the same character. Ooh, I just looked and I remembered somebody that's going to give Emma Stone a run for her money right there. Anyways, sorry. I forgot what characters we were ranking throughout this whole thing, okay? The way that Ned went out, and this was before we like knew what Game of Thrones was about, like at least like with Ygritte at the Red Wedding, at that point in the show, we know like nobody is safe in Game of Thrones. At this point, we didn't know that in Game of Thrones. So this death was shocking. The fact that, I know Arya didn't really, I don't remember if she actually watched, but somebody was protecting her saying, don't watch this. The way that Ned was almost safe, right? And Joffrey just changed his mind and goes, I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly what he said. He's like, nah, what kind of king would I be if I didn't kill Ned Stark? Like, after you think that he's going to be safe, after that was the entire plan, you're going to let him live? Just for his head to get cut off like that? Just for him to go out like that? For finding out a secret? Like, I mean, Ned should have minded his own business, to be fair. But these people were horrible. Right? I understood what Ned was doing. Oh, man. Yeah, he just fell victim to that. And it was incredibly sad. Incredibly sad. I think it's like actually in Ygritte territory, but not quite as powerful as Ygritte or sad as Ygritte because of the significance of Ygritte and Jon Snow. You could feel the connection, you could feel the love, and it was the way that Ygritte died as well. It's close. I'm actually going to put them together, but I'm going to put them right behind Ygritte. Now this one. Oh, these next two. Oh my god, these next two. Okay, Vision. What a death. One of the greatest scenes in Marvel history, in fiction history. First off, you have Vision, who has to suffer by Scarlet Witch killing him, Wanda killing him. And because Vision's so powerful, he's not just like, oh, he's dead now. She is probably actively making him suffer with God knows how much that energy burst hurts. Right? He's sitting there, taking it, just saying like, oh my god, I love you, I just feel you. And the way that, again, the Elizabeth Olsen, I might be getting the wrong Olsen, I'm sorry if I'm being disrespectful, I believe it's Elizabeth Olsen, I know there's a few of them. One of the best actors we've ever seen, dude. The way that she was selling it, the way that she was crying while Thanos, this unstoppable force, is moving forward, and she is just, she's trying to push him off while killing Vision with her other hand. She can't even look at Vision. The way she's like, oh my god, Thanos is coming, oh my god, Thanos is coming, oh my god, Thanos is coming. And after that is all dragged out, after who knows how much Vision was suffering from that pain too, finally explodes his head just for Thanos to come in, rewind time. Hey, Vision. Crushes his skull with his fingers. Oh my God. You know how I was talking about that being a tearjerker with Emma Stone? Bigger over here. Bigger for Vision. This was one of the best deaths, well done deaths, one of the saddest deaths in the history of fiction. This does not get talked about enough, and this one is absolutely going ahead of Emma Stone dying. Oh my God, you can do so much, man. It's crazy that, like, I'm putting things ahead of the Red Wedding. It's crazy that I'm putting things ahead of Howard. Like, when I was thinking about this, when I was thinking about making this video, I was actually thinking that I would probably have Howard towards the top, but dude, we're not done yet. That poor girl. And okay, here's the problem. For Full Metal Alchemist, I don't remember the poor daughter's name, but it does not take away from how sad this was. Oh my God, the Chimera death from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I will say, this is the most, and excuse my language, this is the most fucked up death in the entirety of fiction. The way that you slowly realize that the father was experimenting on his own daughter, combining her with the dog. Oh, the way that she was still calling out to our main characters saying, play, 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 or whatever else was coming out of her mouth. Oh, okay. This is definitely the most rage-inducing death. Oh, that's a good one. Because then you would have like Rengoku towards the top. I am getting chills talking about it. It was like one of the most messed up things, screwed up things I have ever seen in fiction. Dude, oh, I felt so bad for that little girl. And they did it so well that we don't have a relationship with this little girl. This is a new character to the show. The show basically just began. Oh my God. Is this the best death in fiction? Or the saddest death, excuse me? Dude, it is so screwed up, and you get so angry at that father so quickly, and the way, like, you can see, like, the dead eyes, like, God knows how much that hurt, too, like, whatever she just went through, she's combining with the dog, and just, like, play, play, play with me. Top 3. It's in Vision and Emma Stone territory. You know what? Excuse me for a second, guys. I know the color's a little bit off, but I just wanted to make an SS tier because I think there's a few deaths here that separate themselves from the pack, and that's where I'm actually going to move Vision and Emma Stone, because again, I was watching those and I'm like, oh my God, I want to cry right now. I am actively holding back tears watching this. And I know, like, call me a, whatever you want to call me, but I'm being honest with you here. And the Chimera death is absolutely going in there as well. It's in the S tier, but man, is it, or SS tier, excuse me, is it sadder than Gwen and Vision? I'm gonna go with no. Oh, those are close, dude. Those are close. I can't believe, like, the SS tier we're putting above everybody else. Okay, let's talk about Rue from the Hunger Games, okay? It's just, the significance of having this little girl being stolen from the Capitol, put into the Hunger Games. You already have that, and you already felt bad for her. But the way that she went out, in Katniss's arms, the way that Katniss had to bury her, and then the entire world was watching it, it kind of made Katniss the fan favorite. This was a hard watch as well, honestly. But the problem was, like, we didn't spend enough time with this character. It's kind of like, it kind of has the Akame ga Kill problem, where it's like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, a child just died. It's so sad. And again, even the C tier is a sad death. We're ranking the saddest deaths in all of fiction. I just don't think it stacks up to a lot of other things that we've seen. I'm gonna put this one at the top of C tier for Rue. Sasha from Attack on Titan. Now, this one's actually gonna be a hot take. I didn't have the same attachment to Sasha as everybody else did in Attack on Titan. Like, obviously, it's a character that you love. Obviously, she's probably the most pure character in the entirety of Attack on Titan, right? She just loved to eat food. She loved her comrades. She was a very, very good and innocent character in the way that she went out, the way that Gabby ended up shooting her, like, not even knowing who Gabby was, because Gabby, and I love Gabby's character so much too, guys. The way that she climbed up on board, right? She's just rage in her heart. She's this, like, parallel to Eren. She thinks that Sasha is this devil, and I love the way that the writer chose to kill Sasha of all people with Gabby, because she's looking at all these people like, oh my God, these island devils, I need to get them, right? And then she killed the most pure and kind-hearted one of all of them. And just watching them all, just, they didn't even go and attack Gabby right away. And I know they did attack Gabby. I know they did. But the way that she just watched them all break down into tears. And then you have that entire problem with Eren, where it's like, she's still asking for food. And Eren is laughing and going crazy because he saw everything. Like, it's crazy to go back on in hindsight, not even just the first time that you watch it. Sasha's death was very sad, but for the character specifically, I didn't quite have that same level of attachment as I did to a lot of other characters in Attack on Titan. This is an A tier, but I'm actually going to put it into the low A tier. I'm going to put this one right behind Hank. Let's talk about Chuck. This is tough because you don't feel bad for Chuck. Chuck was such a piece of crap and so horrible to Jimmy. And I understand, like, Jimmy's not innocent, but, like, Chuck's just a bad guy, right? Oh, I lost my court case where I tried to just destroy my brother. I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I didn't laugh at it. Obviously, I didn't laugh at it, but I felt more bad for Jimmy than I did Chuck in that situation. You know, Jimmy lost his brother, and Jimmy still did love his brother, and he was still dealing with that heartbreak. I felt like I almost feel like it could be memed where Chuck's, like, pouting in the house, kicking, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't feel bad for Chuck. It wasn't a sad death to me. D tier. I felt, is it sadder than Rex? Here's the question. Which one was least sad to me? I'm going to put Chuck, right behind Rex. Yeah, I didn't feel bad for Chuck. I'm sorry, guys. Chuck was a piece of crap. Anyways, let's continue on over to Duchess from the Clone Wars. The way that we figured out in this show that Obi-Wan had a love, it just puts so much more significance on his character in the entirety of Star Wars. It was crazy them building the relationship. And you know what sucks too is because you have this, like, doom that you kind of know is coming through the show because you're like, okay, Obi-Wan does not have a lover continuing forward. What's going to happen? Well, what happened was Darth Maul killed her just to specifically make Obi-Wan suffer in such a significant moment, and there was nothing that any of them could do about it. And she died confessing her love to Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was not able to have that love of his life. He wasn't able to live that path because it's like he was considering, like, leaving the Jedi for her, right? This was actually a really sad death. But I don't think it's as significant as what we saw into the S tier over here. This is going to be an A tier death. I think Fives was harder to watch than her. I'm going to put Duchess. I'm going to put her at the bottom of A tier. Mike Ermintrout. Oh, the way that Mike went out, dude. Mike almost got away. Mike had some money, right? He was going to set up his whole new life, and who expected Mike to die? Like, if you were watching the show and, like, everything that we're getting involved in, yeah, obviously it's on the table for Mike to die, but just for Walt to be the one to kill him just because he got pissed off for a second, you know? While Mike was justifiably going off on Walter like, you and your pride and your ego, you just had to be the man. You could have done your job, known your place, and cooked. We'd all be fine right now. And just the way, like, you know, his disgusted face. And then Walt, just because he's an insecure little man, he went and shot Mike. And he didn't even die on impact. He was sitting on a rock. And Walt is still yapping in Mike's ears. And the way that Mike went out, the way that Mike had to leave his granddaughter, the one that he was trying to take care of for the rest of his life the entire time. And all she's going to know is Grandpa abandoned me at the park. Mike was a really tough death. And just the way his last words had to be, unfortunately, like, he had to be with the person that he hated, the person that killed him. Shut the fuck up and let me die in peace. Horrible death. Horrible death for Mike Ermintrout. I'm putting it into the S tier. I'm going to put it right below Princess Euphemia. It's tough, but the reason why it's not higher is because, like, it still has that Gail Bedecker effect where I'm like, you know what? Mike was in the game, as he says. You know what I'm talking about? Let's continue on to Shirley. You know, what's horrible about this one is you have a show that is, there's so much going on in Code Geass, right? She was just a normal girl that was kind of like caught in a world of evil people. And the way that, you know, Lelouch kind of like caused it in a way, she died confessing her love, like, I'm going to fall for you over and over again. You know, Lelouch had to erase her memories after everything that Lelouch did, right? But she is still falling in love with him. And because the guy, which he shouldn't have used his Geass on her, the guy already used his Geass on her, and the way that Lelouch is screaming, saying, Shirley, you can't die. I order you not to die. And you could see it coming through his eye, the Geass command, but it's not working because he already used it on her. And then she just goes like that. Very tough to watch. Very sad to watch. I will say, it's not quite on the level of Princess Euphemia, but Shirley was a tough death to watch, dude. I'm actually going to put it towards the top of A tier. I'm going to put Shirley right in front of Hank. Very, very tough death to watch, okay? All right, guys, and I know that I am going to hear about this one in the comments. Eddie Munson from Stranger Things. I never liked Eddie. I never cared for Eddie, and Did Steve have a point when he's talking about how he died unnecessarily? He wanted to be cool. He was rocking out in the underworld. I felt nothing when he died. Yes, it's sad, and I wasn't actively cheering for his death. Like, I'm not heartless in that sense, right? But it's like Rex. You have a character that a bunch of people love that I didn't. I didn't like Eddie. I don't care for Eddie. He's going into the D tier. But, like, Chuck's such a piece of crap that he's not there yet. So Eddie is into the D tier right there. Straight up, not sad at all for me, okay? Let's talk about L from Death Note. This one was more sad than Light Yagami because while L was like a monster of his own, for a lack of a better term, at least he was trying to do the right thing, and he was trying to catch Kira. He was trying to right the wrongs that Kira was doing, just killing, like, I know if you don't want to call them wrongs if Light's killing bad people, but Light was turning into a monster and killing a bunch of policemen and stuff like that, and he was taking pleasure from it, and L knew what Kira was. And the way that L knew his death was coming, you know, that entire scene in the rain, the way that he's cleaning off Light's feet, saying, like, it's going to be weird, you and I are parting ways soon. The way that we had that slow build-up that L knew that he was losing, and L was kind of, like, accepting defeat, was very tough to watch. And then he's the only one that knows that Light's Kira, and he's sitting here having to dry his feet because he doesn't have proof to put him away. I think it was very powerful in the way that L ended up going out, just kind of like all of a sudden too, everybody, the Shini, and then he just falls. And the way that he falls, and Light catches him, and Light is putting on that performance where he's like, no, please don't die, Ryuzaki, please don't die, Ryuzaki, don't die, right? And then you look at Light's eyes, and then he's just smiling, you know, that sinister smile, and L has to look at that as his heart stopping, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Then on top of that, you have that alternate scene too, where Light is laughing at his grave. This was very, very, very powerful. I am absolutely putting this into the A tier, not quite S tier. I am going to put L's death. You know what? I'm going to put L right behind Sasha. I think that's a good one. I think that's a good place to put it. Now for Lelouch v. Britannia, guys. You know, we kind of have the Caesar problem here, where Lelouch died completing his mission, right? He made the entire world hate him. It was quite literally like the ultimate sacrifice. He made the entire world just hate on him. Like, he ended up, of course, and you know what's sad about it too? He orchestrated his own assassination with his best friend. Suzaku was the one that was supposed to kill him, just so his sister and the rest of the world could live in peace. It was so well done, and the sad part about it was nobody knew that's why. Everybody watched this guy die where he's doing something great, but everybody's looking at him as he's such an evil person, and the way that Nanali realizes it as Lelouch is dying, and the way that Suzaku was the only one that knew, and he had to stab him through the heart, and the way that he just fell down all those stairs, he suffered. He suffered. But the problem was, it was more, I don't want to say it was happy. Of course it wasn't happy, but it has the Caesar problem where you have such a beloved character, but he completed his mission. And for that reason, I'm actually putting him around Caesar. But the way that he died, like, at least Caesar just kind of like laid there and passed out. Like, Lelouch went out real hard, dude. I'm going to put Lelouch. You know what? I'm actually changing my mind. I'm going to put Mace Windu at the bottom of B. I think Caesar's death was sadder than him. And I'm going to put Lelouch right behind Gale Bedecker for that reason, okay? Let's talk about David from Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Guys, I said this in my review. I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners, everybody's talking about like, oh my god, this show's going to break your heart. Oh my god, this is such a sad, 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 sad show. That's so overdone. It's one season. We didn't spend nearly as much time with the characters. This could have been really sad. Like, this could have been a show that's been dragged out like over 3 or 4 seasons if they were like to, you know, build a relationship and, you know, always wanting to go to the moon. The way that he went out, I didn't really feel that bad. Like, it was sad, sure, but it does not compare to anybody on this list over here. I'm putting David, and I know that's going to be a hot take, C tier. Don't care that much. We're going to leave it at that, okay? Let's talk about Tony Stark from Avengers Endgame. This was a very, very tough one to watch, guys. Dude, the way that, you know, you have the emotions from the entire battle, right? But the way that everybody was getting so close, the way that Thanos was slowly beating people, the way that he just punched Captain Marvel away, you know, you have that entire dragged out battle, and the music is what really sells it over here. The way that he looks over at Doctor Strange, the way that Doctor Strange is like shaking his hand going like this is it. And it's communicating to Tony like, hey, it's time to sacrifice yourself, and he just gets it the way, and it was unexpected the way that he was going to go out too. He goes up to Thanos, still gets kind of shrugged off, and just the way that he is, you can see his skin frying from the Infinity Stones. He snaps Thanos away, and he's still barely alive, all burnt, and I can't imagine the pain that he was feeling. The way that half of his face and his neck and his entire body, his shoulders, his arms was burnt, and he's just watching there, and Pepper's there. He didn't get to say goodbye to his daughter. He's the only one that had to die in that entire scene. The way that he just went out and he couldn't really speak, and the way that the light went out while Pepper was telling him you can rest now. The way that, and dude, Tom Holland's like one of the greatest actors of all time. This dude cries. He makes you feel like you want to cry too. The way that you're just feeling it as that Tom Holland's like, oh, Mr. Stark, please, Mr. Stark. You know what I'm talking about? The same kind of deal where he's like, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark, please. Ooh, that should have been, crap, that should have been on here. That counts, eh? That should have been on here. That would have been an S tier for Tom Holland dying, for dying from the snap. But the way that Tony went out was so poetic. It was so sad. The way that Pepper's actor sold it too, where she's barely keeping it together, watching the light go out. The music was so well done. This is one of the greatest deaths in the entirety of fiction. I'm going to put Tony Stark definitely in the S tier. Definitely. I'm actually going to put Tony Stark. I'm going to put him at the top of S tier. I'm going to put him ahead of Lagertha. It is right there, dude. Right there on the borderline of SS tier. Let's talk about Ragnar Lothbrok. This one was sad. The problem was, too, you knew that his death was on its way because you had that prophecy. Just like what I was talking about, what the seer said about Lagertha. You just knew he's riding in the carriage, and you're like, okay, you still got 2 seasons left of this show. What's going to happen over here? How's he going to escape this? Because he looks like he's obviously on his way to his death. King LA is going to kill him. And then he's riding in the carriage, and then the blind man, he goes, don't worry, I can see you, Ragnar Lothbrok. And then Ragnar has that conversation with the seer. I'm like, oh my God, is Ragnar actually about to die? Maybe, because he's still saying that he's going to defy the seer, and he's going to choose when he dies. But he died anyways. The way that Ragnar just got tortured tortured with nobody around, not even Ivor. Ivor ended up having to go. The way that he had that Eckbert had to give him over to Ale, you know, it was all horrible. So it was graphic as well. The way that he was like legitimately being tortured, left up in that cage just to fall into a pit. And the way that he went out, dude, you know, his final speech made you feel a little less sad for him because it was like, it was more badass than anything. Like Bjorn, for example, when Bjorn went out, that was sad, but it was more badass. And I think that Ragnar had a little bit more of a badass death where he's like, and I welcome the Valkyries to summon me home. And my death comes without apology. Like, he kind of like, it made it less sad the way that he was going out. He was going out like a badass, but you still felt really bad for the way that Ragnar suffered and died at the end. Vikings is my favorite show of all time, but I don't think that Ragnar's death specifically stacks up to a lot of characters that we were talking about. And I'm going to put him into the A tier. I'm actually going to separate him between Ygritte and Ned. I felt a little bit more when he died compared to Ned. I'm actually going to separate those two right there and put them right in the dead center. For the final character that we're talking about today, we're going to be talking about Yondu. This one was well earned. And you know what really sold it was Chris Pratt and the way that he was screaming. Because Yondu, he's like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but something like, I haven't done anything right my whole life. Let me have this one. Just for him to end up sacrificing himself and giving that like bubble thing so they can end up breathing in space. He saves Peter after Peter's probably going to die. Everything's dying around him. You think that Peter's actually going to die with the whole planet there. Yondu gets him up in space, and you can see Yondu kind of like frying outside the atmosphere in space. And the way that he can't like, the way that Quill can't like rip that thing off because he wanted to save Yondu, and then he just has to watch him die as Yondu's like holding his face, and the way that he's screaming like, no, 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 you know, that's what really sold it. And this became one of the best deaths in the entirety of fiction. This one was also very tough to watch. I don't know. I don't think it quite stacks up though to the S tier. It's high A tier. Very high A tier. I'm going to put Yondu. I'm going to put him. There's so many good ones, dude. So many. I'm going to put him right ahead of Shirley right there. With that being said, guys, that has been my rankings for the saddest deaths in the entirety of fiction. This was a long video. I would love for your support down below. Let me know what you would like to see next. Comment down below what you think about my rankings over here. And if you want to check out another tier list video, why don't you check out this tier list where I break down the greatest moments from the Infinity Saga. I'd love to have you guys over there. Thank you so much for watching today. Take care, everybody.